Hey guys, just before we get into the podcast, I wanted to include this on the main podcast episode itself, but I forgot, so I'm doing it as a post recording thing. I want to extend my hearty condolences to the family of Gerard Houllier, who was a former Liverpool, Aston Villa, and France manager. So I really want to take a moment here to remember him, remember the incredible achievement that he brought to Liverpool, winning the Cup treble in 2001, winning the League Cup, the FA Cup, and the UEFA Cup, which is what the Europa League was called back then. Great manager, great guy. A lot of tributes have poured in from the likes of Steven Gerrard, Jamie Carragher, and a lot of other players as well who've played for Liverpool under him. A lot of players who've played for Aston Villa under him as well have been pouring in tributes, and it's obviously it's a very sad day in football. This year has not been easy, and this just it's just another. It's just 2020, isn't it? Um, but yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm truly sorry for his family, and hopefully, you know, uh, they can get through this tough time with the support of their near and dear ones. But yeah, on to the episode itself. We're going to be talking about the Champions League draws, and without further ado, let's get right to it. Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to the Red Mist podcast with me, Seshadri, and welcome to a special episode. Yes, we are reacting to the UEFA Champions League knockout round draws, and specifically, we're going to be taking a look at Liverpool's draw, but we're also going to be talking a little bit about some of the others. Now, going into the draw, I was kind of okay with pretty much any team except Atletico Madrid, and that's not, some sort of PTSD from last year, but more to do with the fact that, you've got I just think, Atletico is just one of those teams that just annoys you, and I just didn't feel like playing them right now. Like, if we get them later on, then fair play, we get them later on, but I just didn't want to play them right now. It's just one of those annoying teams. Like, they're just a team that gets on your nerves. Like, for the players they have, they should be playing much better football, but, they play a style that works for them and has particularly been working this season for them. So Atletico was the only team I didn't quite want, but any of the others, you've got Borussia Mönchengladbach, Lazio, Leipzig, Porto, Barcelona, Sevilla, Atalanta. We can't obviously play Atalanta. So aside from Atalanta and Atletico, I kind of would have taken any of the others, to be honest. On paper, Porto is obviously the easiest team. Lazio may not be far behind. Mönchengladbach as well. Although, to be fair, I have watched Gladbach in the Bundesliga. They can actually give you quite a game. If they want to, but anyway, let's not talk like the draw is going to happen. It's already happened. We all know the results of it by the time this podcast goes out. Liverpool have been drawn with Leipzig, RB Leipzig, Red Bull Leipzig. If you guys saw the thumbnail, also you would know, and it's kind of interesting for me because, and I know this is because this is a big digression, by the way, because a couple of episodes ago I spoke about playing Football Manager, and I said, my current career is with RB Leipzig. So for me, it's like, Football Manager beats real world, and it's kind of a weird thing, because obviously, when you play Football Manager, and a lot of people who've played the game can attest to this, you have a little bit of an attachment to the teams that you sort of manage, because you're not always, obviously, you're managing Liverpool or whatever initially at some point, but in order to sort of look for a new challenge, you're always managing a different club. And for me, right now, that is RB Leipzig. And interestingly enough, I actually won the Champions League just now in my second season with Leipzig. Obviously, a very different sort of thing. I think I won the Champions League in the year, I want to say 2020, 21, 2022. I think that's the Champions League that I won. So very different, a little bit into the future, I guess, a year further ahead into the future. So Leipzig, I have a little bit of an attachment for Leipzig. Guys like Upamecano, Mukiele, Nordi Mukiele, I don't even know if he's at the club in real life or not, actually. But Upamecano, Konate, I have a little bit of an attachment for these guys. And because I'm playing FM20, I've also got Timo Werner in the team. So, yeah, little bit of an attachment to RB Leipzig. But they're gonna be a good team to play against. I think not just because of the fact that they play some very good attacking, attractive football, but also because they are a team with a good tactical sense. They can give you a good game. They went to Allianz Arena a couple of weeks ago and gave us an absolute thriller of a game, 3-all against Bayern Munich. I think defensively they're still weak. I think that's their biggest sort of weak point. Obviously, they kept a clean sheet this past weekend against Werder Bremen, but generally speaking, they've been prone to sort of conceding goals. They conceded 3 against Istanbul Başakşehir, 3 against Bayern Munich. Obviously, maybe that's a little bit less of a surprise. Then, of course, you also had 2 against Manchester United late on in that game to decide the final sort of team that progressed from that group. But Leipzig are vulnerable, so I'm not going to say it's a slam dunk win for Liverpool, but I would say I fancy Liverpool in that tie. And not just because I'm a Liverpool fan, but even as a neutral, if I'm watching that game, I'd fancy Liverpool. One, because Liverpool have been sort of one of the top teams in Europe over the past couple of seasons, and two, because Leipzig do have defensive vulnerabilities. So yeah, that's a storyline we can actually watch out for, how Leipzig cope up with Liverpool's front three. But then again, Liverpool are coming off of a pretty tough winter schedule. So will the boys who, and the boys, by the boys I mean Salah, Mane, Firmino, will they be tired? Because especially with Diogo Jota out, there's not going to be a lot of rotation done in that front three. So will they be tired by the time they get Leipzig? That's a question that we need to watch out for. Obviously, we'll see how it goes. It's still a long way to go. The ties are obviously going to be held in February and one leg in March. Leipzig, currently speaking, though, they are third in the Bundesliga, just 1 point behind Bayer Leverkusen, level on points with Bayern Munich, just behind on goal difference as well. They're 3 ahead of Wolfsburg in 4th place and 5 ahead of Dortmund in 5th. So pretty close Bundesliga season this time. Pretty exciting. I have been watching the Bundesliga. Obviously, you guys know, if you've listened to my podcast before, I've mentioned it once or twice. The Bundesliga and the Serie A are the only 2 other leagues that I actually do watch aside from the Premier League. And I watched the MLS, but obviously the MLS ended this past week. But so like I was saying, Leipzig's going to be a good encounter. Like I just feel like it's going to be free flowing. I think they're not going to sit back just because they're taking on Liverpool. Defensively, they might be a little more cautious because they do know the threat that Salah, Mane and Firmino pose, and they might actually not play such a high line. But Leipzig are very, very good tactically. They're a very good team tactically, and they're just one of those teams which can really hurt you on their day. The only they can score goals. Scoring goals has never been an issue for them. I think the problem for Leipzig is defense, and that's the one area that I think we should look to exploit. But obviously, like I said, the ties are quite some distance away. A lot can change between now and then. Liverpool have got problems of their own in defense in terms of injuries, so you never know how that's going to play out. In terms of the other sort of games, let's have a look at the entire draw. So I'll just run through the list of games, and then we'll talk about some of them maybe. So we've got Mönchengladbach against Manchester City, Lazio against Bayern, Atletico against Chelsea, Porto against Juventus, Barcelona against PSG, Sevilla against Borussia Dortmund, and Atalanta against Real Madrid. So for me personally, the 2 ties that I'm really, really interested in, Lazio against Bayern Munich, and obviously, the marquee tie, quote unquote, of this round is going to be, Barcelona against PSG. So that's going to be interesting to watch out for. Neymar, unfortunately, was an injury casualty. I don't know how long exactly he's out for, but it did look a fairly serious injury that he sustained against Lyon. So I don't know if he's going to make it back in time for the game against Barcelona. It'll be a nice storyline to have. And another aspect to this is the fact that Lionel Messi, Neymar said he wants Messi to play with him again. So could Messi potentially head to PSG in the summer? That's a storyline to watch out for. And we'll see how it goes, man. And for me, the other one, like I said, Lazio against Bayern Munich, because I think I like Lazio. And part of it, obviously, again, comes from Football Manager and the fact that I like Lazio, but also because they actually play some really good football. But will they be defensively solid against Bayern Munich? The odds are they won't, and they are likely to lose this encounter. But what I will say is, on their day, they can give Bayern Munich a game. The third encounter that I'm really, really interested by is Atalanta against Real Madrid, because Real Madrid looked fragile through the group stages. Obviously, there was that game where pretty much a backup lineup for Shakhtar Donetsk. I think 9 of their players had COVID and had to miss the tie. Came to Bernabeu, scored 3 goals, won the game 3-2 as well. So Gladbach did trouble them. Maybe not on the final day, but Gladbach did trouble them as well. in their previous encounter. But like I said, it's just one of those games that has intrigue to it. I think Real Madrid's form has been very up and down. Atalanta has not been doing great in the Serie A either. I think as of this point, Atalanta is eighth in the Serie A, and Real Madrid are third in La Liga. So Real Madrid may not be as bad, but definitely they're not at their best, and they could have done better. They've had some shockers. They've lost to Cadiz. Cadiz, for example, Cadiz was a shocking sort of result. Just off of going off topic a little bit, but they lost to Cadiz, and even Barcelona lost to Cadiz. So that was a little bit of a shock. But yeah, Real Madrid probably better off in that tie, but you never know. They have looked vulnerable, and obviously, all of this is conditional. All of this is right now. We don't know how things are going to change in February, and you never know with these things. But getting back to, so those are my sort of three encounters to watch out for. Sevilla Dortmund's going to be a good game, and at this stage, I think of the Champions League, you're kind of expecting good games. Atletico Chelsea. I've seen a lot of Chelsea fans. I've seen Chelsea Twitter sort of go, nah. I mean, why Atletico? This that. But look, Atletico is going to give you a rough game. They're going to give you a very rugged game, but I think if there's one team that can actually beat that, it's going to be Chelsea, because I think, and I'm not saying this because they're defensively solid or whatever, Atletico has the firepower to punish them, but I just think Chelsea in attack just has too much quality for Atletico, as good as Atletico have been this year. So for me, I think that's another tie to watch out for. May not be the most visually attractive game, and I'll say this right off the outset. Chelsea players have to be prepared for a battering, because that's exactly what they're going to get at the hands of Atletico. I remember from last year when we played them, it was not aesthetically pleasing to the eye the way they played, but it's just something you're going to have to deal with. So yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much rounds out our just a little bit on the other teams. But Leipzig versus Liverpool, another storyline to it. Getting back to the game, I just thought about this. Julian Nagelsmann. So in a lot of, Liverpool Twitter and Liverpool rumor circles, if Jurgen Klopp was to leave Liverpool, and I think the only job he's going to leave Liverpool for is if he gets the German national team, I think that's an offer that he'll find very hard to refuse. And the DFB have obviously indicated to sources in the Bild a while back that there is a good possibility that if Germany does not at least reach the semi-finals of the European Championships, which at this stage looks very, very lofty as a goal, but if Germany does not reach that level, then Jogi Löw will be sacked, or he will resign. And they've lined up. They think they can get Jurgen Klopp as their next coach. And I think, look, maybe this is just me personally. Maybe Klopp is different, but I think I would find it very hard to say no to my country coming and calling me for a managerial job. I think that is the pinnacle for every manager. I think every manager would want to win a World Cup, would want to go to a World Cup with their national team, manage the best players in the country. And managing a team like Germany is, if there's one person who can rally a broken team, which is kind of what Germany is at this point, I think Jurgen Klopp can do that. But getting back to Liverpool, I think if Klopp leaves, I think for me, the obvious candidates are Thomas Tuchel at PSG, but it might be hard to prize him out of PSG. The other one is obviously Julian Nagelsmann at Leipzig. I am personally good with his style of play. I think it will really suit us at Liverpool. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned about is whether or not he has the the stomach to go through a title challenge, because with Jurgen Klopp, when we got Klopp, we knew he had 2 winning seasons at Dortmund, which added to his resume. Yes, sure, it wasn't like it wasn't like a 7-year winning streak or something. It was just 2 years, but it was 2 years and he won nearly everything. So for me, I think that resume needs to be there for Nagelsmann. I think that's what he's lacking. Because last year Leipzig were top of the Bundesliga at the winter break, but they couldn't keep up that challenge. January onwards, once the winter games, once the winter break was over and games started recommencing, he lost a lot of points. And if you're Liverpool, you can't afford to do that. Now, the pressure is going to be on you. Like if you're Liverpool in a title challenge, taking over from Jurgen Klopp, who's won the Premier League, who's won the Champions League, who's lifted Liverpool to heights, basically. If you're coming over from that, if you're taking over from that man, it's going to be very, very hard, I think, for the next person. It's kind of like taking over from Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United, but just maybe not with as many trophies or as much history as Sir Alex had. But Jurgen Klopp is no less, I think, and the pressure is going to be on. And Nagelsmann, how he responds to a title challenge, how he responds to the pressure of managing such a historic club, and that's another thing because Leipzig's not as historic. So whatever he does at Leipzig, even if he wins them one Bundesliga title, it's going to be their first Bundesliga title. So for them, that's a big thing. Like he'll be written in the history books as a Bundesliga winner with Leipzig. Even if he just wins one. But with Liverpool, you have all that pressure on you. You have a team that's ready to win. So if you don't win now, that's going to be difficult. And he needs to manage a title challenge. He needs to improve, in my opinion. Thomas Tuchel, on the other hand, you can say he's had an easier league, but anyway, I wanted to get into Thomas Tuchel a little bit, but let's not go there. That's a whole other discussion for another day, possibly. Which may not occur for years to come. But so Julian Nagelsmann, this might be a little bit of an audition for him, is what I was going to say. Obviously, you're not going to base your entire recruitment based off of this, these two legs, but it would do him well. Even if he loses, it would do him well if Leipzig actually played really well in the games. Now, obviously, they can win. They have the ability to do it. They have the firepower. They have the strength to do it. Will they do it is a question that I guess we will be left to answer only sometime in March. But that brings me to the end of this special Champions League episode for the round of 16 draws. The Europa League draws were done as well. I'm not going to go get into them, but Manchester United and Arsenal, I'm sorry for you guys. Kind of tough draws on you, but still winnable, but kind of tough. But yeah, that I think should be the end of this episode. If you guys are interested to keep following the podcast, it's a Liverpool podcast, so there'll be a lot of Liverpool content coming through. But occasionally I do get other people as well. But yeah, that should conclude this one. Wherever you are, stay safe, stay indoors. I would say stay out. You don't need to stay indoors, do you? Anyway, wherever you are, stay safe, wear a mask, and have a good week. I will see you guys next time for previewing the Tottenham game. Big match coming up in the Premier League for us. Number 1 versus number 2 in the league table. So I'm going to be previewing that game. That's going to be the next episode. But until then, stay safe, stay well, have a good week. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.